Are you working ridiculous hours this 2025, but you just can't seem to get your revenue to grow? Let me tell you something. I've been an entrepreneur for almost a decade, and I've experienced this problem time and time again. What I'm about to give you are the 3 highest leverage, most tactical systems that I personally use, that I installed into my work cycle. I installed these systems for my business partners and for many entrepreneurs, countless numbers of entrepreneurs across literally every single niche that you can imagine. And my promise to you is that if you actually install these systems the way I tell you to, you will no longer be struggling with a revenue plateau. The first system, or process rather, that we need to discuss is what I like to call a calendar cleanup. Now, if you're working 10 plus hours as an entrepreneur, the problem likely is that you are not working on the right things. Let me describe your workday for you. Okay, let's say that there's 12 hours that you work. And again, entrepreneurs just in general work a lot more than the average individual. Most of these hours are probably comprised of either useless meetings. What's worse than useless meetings? Putting out fires in the business. Something goes wrong and now you have to fix it, and this happens all the time. Or a lot of time is just wasted in half-built bridges because you keep starting new opportunities that you don't actually finish. So this is a BRIE, which is what I like to call a half-built bridge. And so all these things keep comprising of your workday. And you know what all these things are not? The constraint of the business. And that's the fundamental problem. If your revenue isn't growing and you're trying to make it grow, the problem is you're not working on the constraint of the business. What is the constraint of the business? You can answer that for yourself by asking yourself one simple question. If I were to 10x my revenue or 10x my profit today, what is stopping me from doing it? Or if I were to 10x my profit within the next few months, what's stopping me from doing it right now? If it's scaling your ad spend, you find a way to do it. I need more closers, you find a way to do it. But the thing is, the real problem is most entrepreneurs are so busy doing all these things that they have absolutely no time to work on the constraint of the business. So what you want to do is, once you do your calendar cleanup, or when you're doing your calendar cleanup, you want to make sure that the first 4 to 5 hours, preferably more, of your calendar in the morning are free just for you to work on the constraint of the business. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are absolutely working on the proper constraint of the business, because a lot of times business owners lie to themselves and tell themselves that they're working on a constraint when in reality it's just a new opportunity. Again, ask yourself what's stopping you from growing, and then just work on that thing for the first 4 to 5 hours in the morning. And what you want to do is you want to let your team know. Okay, I know your team keeps messaging you on Slack. I know your business partners miss you. They're always like, hey, can you check up on this little detail? And they're always asking for your go ahead, your thumbs up for different things. You let them know that you are not going to be available for the first 4 to 5 hours in the morning. Your Slack notifications are off. You are not going to be contactable because you are working on actually moving the business forward. And let me tell you something. A lot of you guys already know this. You know why you're not actually doing it? It's because having this sort of being pulled around in different directions as an entrepreneur is easier. Comfort is the worst addiction that business owners have. And they know it's easy for their business partner to just ask them, hey, could you give me the go ahead for this little thing or that little thing? And then they're pulled in this direction, and then they're pulled in this direction by their team, by their business partners, by their clients, etc., etc. And so they're able to justify that to themselves because the amount that they work is high. They're like, yeah, I did 12 hours of work. Their family is like, oh my God, he works so much. So they're feeling validated. But in reality, they know damn well that they just did the most comfortable thing, which is letting other people tell them what to do. So you let your team know. I'm gonna make this black so that you can absolutely emphasize this. Your team, your business partners, you let them know you are not available for these 4 to 5 hours in the morning. And let me tell you something, the easiest way to do this, even if you only did this, this would help you out. And I am not a big fan of morning routines. I'm not a big fan of that Ashton Hall, like putting your face in the Saratoga water with a bunch of ice, okay? But let me tell you something. One thing that has benefited me a lot in my entrepreneurial journey is the fact that I wake up early, okay? And here's the thing. Most people, let's say they wake up at 9 a.m. They're working a traditional 9 to 5. This is your team or your business partner, or whoever it is, right? If you wake up at 4, you have a whole 5 hours for you to just work on the constraint of the business. And look. That number is familiar, right? 5 hours just for you to work on the constraint of the business. And the thing is, they won't be able to bother you because nobody's awake. So just wake up early, Make sure that nobody can bother you and just work on the constraint of the business. If you're resonating with the content and you're an entrepreneur, then we are hosting the free 6-week focus challenge. That's ultimately what this is a problem of. It's a problem of focus. And we will be solving it for you in the next 42 days for free. So if you're interested in it, we are starting within the next few days. We have limited spots because we're offering one-on-one accountability. Click the link in the bio, register, and reserve your spot now. The second thing that you want to do is you need to understand that meetings are mostly useless, okay? Let me tell you a story of Elon Musk. Elon Musk has a policy at Tesla. There was an email that he sent to Tesla employees where he was discussing his 5 rules for productivity or 6 rules for productivity, I forget. One of them was, if you feel like you do not belong in a meeting or you're not contributing, get up and leave. So this is what the culture of Tesla was like, okay? I'm sitting in a meeting. Some people are talking about some data that doesn't even apply to me. I'm like, hey, I'm in the wrong department. You get up and you fucking leave. That is how you actually build a $1 trillion company, is by making sure that every single person is working at as high of an output as possible. So you want to do the same thing. You want to reduce meetings as much as possible. Just adopt the Elon policy, okay? If you feel like you're not belonging in a meeting, if your business partner, again, doesn't belong in a meeting, if your employees don't belong in a meeting, tell them to leave. And the way that you can actually quantify this, I absolutely love this, is take everybody's hourly wage. Put an hourly wage on yourself. Just go to ChatGPT, be like, hey, this is how much I work. This is how much I freaking make. What's my hourly wage? And then let's say you have a 1-hour meeting at the end of the week. End of the week meeting, where we just like being structured. We're a great freaking company. We're about to be a Fortune 500 company, even though our revenue isn't growing. So we have to do quarterly meetings and weekly meetings and whatnot. You have a 1-hour meeting. I want you to take every single person in that meeting, you, your business partner, the head of the department, whoever it is. If it's just you and your business partner, and especially if you're a smaller company doing this, then shame on you. But take those values, add them together, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how much money you're literally burning in that 1-hour meeting. And now put that to scale when you have multiple meetings again and again. And you know what's even worse? When you have them fucking recurring. They keep happening again and again and again. You keep burning the money. You might as well get a fucking fireplace, put all your money in the fucking fireplace and jump in it. Just dive in the fireplace at this point. And if there's an absolutely vital meeting that you need to attend, let's say somebody's dying, which is, in my opinion, that's the only time when you actually should have a meeting. Make sure that that meeting is booked front to back, okay? Remember what we talked about in terms of the constraint of the business? This part of your day, part of your day where you work on the constraint of the business is literally the most important part of your day. But if somebody just absolutely has to meet with me, like, I don't even know, I can't even give you a scenario where this is applicable. Book it front to back so that the time that you're working on the constraint of the business, what's actually stopping you from growing, is kept in its holy place. It gets untouched, okay? Because if somebody just randomly books here, right? Here's a little meeting. Yeah, it's just a 15-minute meeting. It's not going to take up too much of your time. Your momentum gets absolutely fucked, okay? This is what happens to your momentum. This, okay? And then what are you going to do when you have to tell your fucking wife, if you don't have a wife, when you have to tell your family that you're fucking broke because you just can't tell people, no, I don't have 15 minutes right now. Safeguard this time with your life. So book your meetings back to front. I think there's softwares that can do this for you. You can search up meeting AI software or something. Companies keep changing, so I'm not going to shout out a particular company, but I think the latest one that I heard of was Reclaim, but you know how AI SaaS is. There's one new company and then, fucking venture capital firms like start buying it out, and who knows, like you never know if it's a company anymore. But just search it up and hopefully you'll find an AI tool that can do this for you. Okay, Reclaim.ai is one that I know was the latest one that I'm familiar with. The third thing is just use Loom. Okay, now this has a caveat. Okay, I had a dude, once we started switching to Looms, most of the times we don't do meetings. I have an EOD, think of this. Every time you have a recurring meeting, especially, ask yourself, if there's one dude presenting, can this just be replaced by a Loom? Can I just 2x this person? Sometimes I sit in meetings and I just wish I could 2x the person talking, right? They're like, oh, bro, we need to do this. I'm like, man, where's the fucking toggle? Can I just press the button 2x? That's what you can do with Looms. So just use Loom. For those of you that don't know, I'd be surprised if you don't know what Loom is, but it's basically a screen recording tool that's so easy to use, right? You just open it, record, and you don't need to upload anything. It just creates a link for you. Send that link. It creates an AI thing. You need to use it to understand how beneficial it is. But you want to make sure that people aren't just sending you 20 Looms at the same time, right? I had this dude who started sending like 15 Looms. Once we moved like most of our meeting to Zooms, he was like, oh, this little thing. Instead of sending messages, like it's things that you could communicate in text, like, oh, I got this project done, he'd do it in Loom. So make sure you tell your team not to abuse the crap out of Loom's fucking system. But as long as they're being reasonable, Looms a lot of times are much better than meetings. Another thing that you want to understand, if you absolutely need to have a meeting, right? Let's say that it's the end of the year or something like that, and you need to switch the vision of the business, and you and your business partner or something like that need to meet. Make sure you are applying Parkinson's law. You know what Parkinson's law states? Parkinson's law states that work expands to the time allotted to it. Let's say I want to fix a problem in the business. Right? The sales team isn't converting. So I schedule a meeting with the sales director. I'm sitting with the sales director. I'm like, hey, sales director, what are we supposed to be doing? For that meeting, I schedule out 60 minutes. I promise you that meeting is going to take 60 minutes. But this is going to sound scary. If I have no set time for the meeting, you know what happens? I can solve the issue in 10 minutes, which is, guess what? The actual amount of time it took to solve the damn problem. Turns out they just weren't reading their fucking script. So we just had to make sure they read their script. It took 10 minutes, and then I don't gotta fucking spend the rest of the 50 minutes wasting my time and his time and literally everybody in the company's time. That is literally costing me money. So it sounds a little ridiculous, but make sure that you have no set time for the meetings that you're actually conducting, but only if you're the type of person who gets things done quickly. If you're the type of person who likes meandering, then just limit it as much as possible. Just make it a 20-minute meeting. And if somebody tells you, oh, but this will take more time to discuss, be like, if that's the case, we'll schedule another meeting. The third thing that you need to do, which is the most important one in my opinion, is kill all half-built bridges. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the killer, the half-built bridge, which is what I like to call the brie. But this is what you want to do, okay? If it ain't making money, excuse my slang, ain't making money, get rid of it, okay? Let me tell you something. Everybody's telling everybody to start a personal brand right now. In my humble opinion, if you are making most of your money through ads and your personal brand recording sessions, if you are sitting in your studio for, 10 hours every single day, and that is deterring you from making and scripting the ads that are actually making you money, then fuck your personal brand. If it ain't the main thing, then it doesn't need doing. It's only when you maximize the system and once you actually use SOPs, once you have standard operating procedures to get other people to do that stuff for you, that you can actually start chasing new opportunities. And here's the thing, right? This shiny object syndrome problem, which is basically what results in all these half-built bridges, occurs to entrepreneurs at every single level of the game. First, it's businesses. You keep switching businesses, right? You can't just stick to one business, right? So it starts off with businesses, then it goes to business models, then it's your funnels, then it's your offers, and then it just keeps going. It's client acquisition systems. You keep switching again and again and again because you have a focus problem. You're a very intelligent dude. You got all the information. It's available on YouTube. You've watched enough Alex Hormozi videos. You've read the books. You've taken the courses. You've paid a shitload of money for them. It's just the fact that you can't focus on one thing for long enough to let it work. So again, if it isn't making you money, even if it's your personal brand, if it isn't the main thing that's driving the business forward, that's actually a solution to the constraint, then you remove it. And it's only when you're good enough to actually use SOPs to delegate that shit that you actually want to move on to something new. Paid ads already delegated. Some dude's recording the ads, scripting the ads, everything like that. I got a media buyer. Now I can start working on the personal brand. Until then, I will not. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. First things first, make sure your calendar is clean. You're working on the constraint of the business. Make sure that you are not attending useless meetings, and make sure you kill every single thing except for the thing that's actually going to make you money. And make sure you guys don't fall victim to shiny object syndrome.